Hi, Louisa. Thank you for
Hello.
joining us today.
Yep.
All ready for your presentation?
Yeah. Shall I start sharing my screen? Get things
Yes,
ready?
please go ahead. People are keen to hear about Kahoot now. So Louisa Rosenheck, Director of Learning, designed Kahoot. You'll take us through the exciting work that has been happening at Kahoot recently, and perhaps talk a little bit more about the model of education that you're promoting through Kahoot and the work that you specifically have been doing. Look forward to it.
Great. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Louisa. I'm the Director of Learning Design at Kahoot. I am actually based in Boston in the US. And I'm going to tell you about some of the new projects that we've been working on at Kahoot. And this is a direction that I am working hard to take Kahoot in terms of products, offerings, messaging, how we position our products, and what we're saying about learning, both in the classroom and at work. So what I'm focusing on here in these tools is inclusivity, focusing on neurodiverse learners, but it goes way beyond that. It's so much more than neurodivergent learners. It's really making learning accessible and open-ended and creative, which leads to better learning for everyone. So that's what we're going to get into. And I will also give you a demo of one of our new tools. So what is neurodiversity? It's the idea that there are natural differences in the ways we all process and experience the world. So as you see in this little image where everybody's brain could be anybody else's, that is not the case. Brains work very differently, and some people have diagnoses of autism or ADHD, but it's really not the diagnosis that's important, especially in learning design. It's just the idea that we need to design our learning tools to be flexible and adaptable and customizable in order to work for all learners. So Kahoot has been engaging in a very exciting project over the past year and a half. It's called Kahoot for All, and it was funded by the Lego Foundation through a grant as part of what they call the Play for All Accelerator. So this has been a wonderful experience and has really pushed us at Kahoot to intentionally design for inclusion. So there have been 3 parts of this project. One is to design a more inclusive Kahoot experience, a tool on the platform. Another is to raise awareness about neurodiversity and in the classrooms and using our platform to get the word out. And the other one is advocacy, so advocating for inclusive design in the EdTech community. So for that reason, I'm especially excited to be able to share all of this with all of you here today. So we have this is a page if you want to learn more about the project and what's coming out of it. It explains a little bit about how we think about neurodiversity and inclusion. And it's a resource page also for all of the resources that we've created, as well as some others. So what have we been working on? These are our 2 main things. And I like to make this distinction where Uniting Minds is a content collection. So I think you all are probably familiar with Kahoot. And there is a huge library on the platform of pre-made Kahoots, ready-made content. And teachers love to use that content with their classrooms. It's fun, it's easy, they don't have to create the Kahoots themselves. So Uniting Minds is a pre-made collection of content about neurodiversity. So the idea with these Kahoots is that teachers can play the Kahoots with their students and kind of start conversations about what is neurodiversity, what is it like to have ADHD, how can we support our peers, our friends that have ADHD or autism, or just think in a different way than us. So it's really meant to share the experiences of neurodivergent learners and also give some of those learners a chance to explain, in what ways I'm just like everybody else and in what ways I maybe just need to learn a little bit differently. So this QR code here will take you to the Uniting Minds collection. It is free and available, and we would love for you to share with your networks, with any teachers and schools that you work with that might be interested. So I'm not going to show in detail this content, but it is there, and it's an important part of what we've been working on. Really leveraging the Kahoot platform, taking advantage of the reach that we have to raise awareness and start these important conversations in the classroom. And the other tool that we've been working on, so where that one is teaching about neurodiversity, it's talking about what neurodiversity is, the neurodivergent experience. This one is teaching for neurodiversity. So this means in the design of this new tool, we have really kept neurodivergent learners in mind from the start. And this concept is so important to me, where you're designing at the margins, designing for people who may be marginalized or maybe don't fit the conventional mold of school, and doing that makes learning better for everyone. So it's really not about having a separate version, a different experience for certain students with specific needs. No, it's about designing something that in itself is open and inclusive and lets people engage in the way that they learn best. And I'll come back to those ideas a little bit at the end, but I am going to tell you a bit more about Kahoot Sparks. So Kahoot Sparks has actually just gone live this last week. So we'll be doing a lot more promotion and getting the word out probably in early January, but it is live in an early access form. So I want you guys to know that. And what is Kahoot Sparks? It is all about creative ideation. So I mean, we're gonna play a round of Sparks in a minute, so you'll get to experience it. But it's all about coming up with ideas, allowing students to share their own ideas, express their ideas in an environment where there's no right or wrong answer. It's all about sharing ideas and building on each other's ideas. So in this activity, there is a creative challenge, and what we found in our research and our co-design is that for a lot of students in general, but especially neurodivergent students, when you ask them to come up with a new idea, but it's a completely blank canvas, it's a little bit too open. There's the possibility space is too big. It's a little overwhelming and they don't know where to start. So we created this open ideation exercise, but with some scaffolds. So first, there are some spark prompts. So we ask for just little inspiration ideas. So there could be 1 or 2 or 3 of those. So you get some idea sparks, and then those sparks are all mixed up, shuffled up, and handed back out to each participant. And then you remix those ideas in the creative challenge. So then you get some inspiration to start with, which can help people kind of know where to dig in, but it also really helps them think outside the box and promote divergent thinking. So come up with ideas that maybe they wouldn't have come up with otherwise. And then another very important part is we don't have a winner. We don't have one best idea. We don't have the podium in this version, but there is a phase of celebrating the ideas. And what we really want here is for learners to do a little bit of critical thinking about the idea that there's not just one way to have for an idea to be good, that ideas can be good for many different ways, and there are many paths to success for students. So in this activity, we really intend for students to build future-ready skills like creativity, communication, and support an inclusive classroom. So these are some ways that Kahoot Sparks is quite different from the traditional Kahoot quiz, but while still keeping the same kind of playful and kind of quick and easy feel. So a few more things before we jump into playing about inclusive teaching with this creative ideation exercise. What makes it inclusive? So these are some of the main things that were really important for us in the design phase and in building it out. So there's more player input, there's student voice, right? There's students are not just coming up with an answer, but they're really developing ideas. So it encourages sharing of creative ideas in an open-ended way. There's the ability to respond in different ways. So you can choose text, drawing. We hope to add voice recording at some point. So it's really multimodal, which is a very important principle of Universal Design for Learning, which some of you may be familiar with, which was a major framework that we built this on. And it facilitates connections across ideas. So it's not just that everybody participates and then moves on. You really use each other's ideas and think about how those ideas connect. And like I said earlier, recognizing multiple ways to be successful. So it's not just that person on top of the podium in first place that really matters in this game. It's everybody, it's all of the ideas. So this type of inclusion it's really a complement to what we often think of as accessibility, sort of technical accessibility. Of course, any EdTech tool needs to be accessible to all kinds of abilities and disabilities, low vision and no hearing, and have lots of different, work with assistive technologies. But these particular points are more on the learning design side, so being inclusive in the kind of learning that's happening. And this is the kind of learning that I think EdTech as a field and education in general really needs to move toward. We know that traditional learning is rote learning is not serving students. It's not what they're going to need to be prepared for the future. So we really need more kind of innovative thinking and being able to operate in a space of ambiguity and openness. So that's what Kahoot Sparks is working towards. Okay, let's see if we can try one. So here is what Kahoot, the main page of Kahoot Sparks looks like. What we really hope is that teachers will create their own Spark challenges. But of course, we do have a set of examples of templates here, ready-made. So I'm going to choose this hobby one. So Sparks can be used in many ways. It can be used to explore content or kick off a project-based learning unit or as an assessment. And of course, as an icebreaker or kind of a warm-up, getting to know you. So this one is just an example of kind of building community and getting to know each other in a classroom. So here I could edit, customize anything that I like in this Spark. I can also just create a new one from scratch. I'm going to go with this. All right. So everybody, please join. You need to go to sparks.kahoot.it, a little bit different from the regular Kahoots. You can also use this QR code. It will not open in the Kahoot app if you're used to that. It's a little bit separate right now. Or just go to sparks.kahoot.it and enter this PIN. So I'll give everybody a minute. Hopefully folks will be able to join. Okay, Kurt is in. Excellent. All right, very nice. Getting a handful of players now. And like I said, this is a brand new tool. It's in early access, kind of a beta phase, but it is live. It is accessible. You have to have an EDU plan on Kahoot in order to access this. It's part of the EDU kind of district-wide level of the product. But if any of you would like to try it out or know more about it or use it in a certain context, we can also get you access. So feel free to reach out to me if this is something that you want to incorporate into anything that you're doing. All right. One more minute while people continue to join, and then we'll get started. All right, let's go ahead. And if anyone is still joining, they should be able to still join even while we go. Okay, so we are going to be inventing new hobbies, wild and crazy hobbies. But as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the inspirational Spark prompts. So first of all, what is one of your hobbies now, regular hobby? So you can see where this kind of scaffolding question is open-ended. It elicits responses from students, but it's kind of an easy one. It's low stakes. It might be just one word or a small image. So it's kind of a low bar, an easy entry point for students to start brainstorming and getting creative. And you can also see that you can type or draw, which gives different participants options for what they're comfortable with. Okay, very nice. Kayaking, making coffee. Yes, nice. Ooh, clothes for Victorian dolls. Love it. Baking for Christmas. Yes, that's a great one right now. And you can also see that these phases of the activity do not have a timer. That was also something that was important to us. We know that for neurodivergent students and many students, the traditional Kahoot, the time pressure does not motivate everybody. For a lot of students, it really does, but not everybody. Sometimes the time pressure makes you feel nervous, or then you have to answer fast and then you might get it wrong. So it was important to us for this activity to not have time pressure. That said, sometimes teachers do want it, so we may be able to add it as an option. And that's really one of the design principles of Sparks and inclusive design, is to make everything customizable as much as possible. All right, so we have some amazing, lovely answers here. Let's continue. Yes, that is okay. Okay, so the next inspirational spark prompt. Name one object or kind of equipment you use in this hobby. So in the hobby that you just put down, what's something you use, something you need to do that hobby? I love the variety here. Yarn, running shoes. And after this, we're going to see how do these things fit together. Oh, water, coffee, and love. A bike, a lamp, a yoga mat. This is great. So you can see in this particular exercise, in these questions, we're kind of getting to know each other, and we don't know who has responded, whose answers each of these are. But if you're in a classroom, you're looking around, there's probably banter and conversation as well, and thinking, oh, who's the knitter here? Oh, who loves coffee? So it can really, when we've tried it out in classrooms so far, it can really start a lot of nice conversations and build community. All right. Now for the creative challenge. So here you see all of those inspirational sparks are getting shuffled around. And then each of you will get a set of 2 of them, which you'll use as inspiration for this bigger creative challenge. So you're going to remix those ideas, combine the activity that you're given and the object you're given to invent a whole new hobby. And I always say in this part, don't feel like you have to take the inspirations. Don't feel like you have to take those cards literally. If you can find a way to fit them together that makes sense, that's wonderful. If you feel like these 2 things just do not go together in any way, then feel free to interpret it however you like, or use one of them, or go in another direction. There's no right answer. So these are just meant for inspiration. And I always like to remind students too that it doesn't have to be realistic or actually doable. It can be sort of fantastical or imaginary. Really feel free to get creative. That's the whole point of this, is there is no right answer. So it's all about the interesting ideas. See, these are great. Coffee yoga, kayaking with weighted paddles, knitting lampshades, bicycling with love, book cycling. That's an inspirational idea. Ooh, kind of a water polo golf kind of a game here. Group cooking with soundtracks. So you can see how just these simple ideas, and really even not a lot of time, can lead to some really, really interesting ideas that people probably wouldn't have thought of. If I had just come in and said, hey, invent a new hobby, tell me something crazy, you wouldn't have thought of these things. So that's where this activity, it's a simple mechanic, but it just promotes more divergent thinking and building off of each other's ideas. And then what you also can do, you can open one up and you can see the inspirations that went into it. So here we have, you know, a lamp, or if that's what this is, and knitting. And we can scroll through some of these. Let's go back one. This one had, yeah, this one had cycling, and then this person chose to use the love part of the coffee making, which is great. All right, wonderful. So there may be a few people who haven't submitted yet, but that is fine. And then you can also see in a group, in a classroom, there might be a lot of different conversations. Oh, where'd you get that idea? Oh, is that something we could really do? Hey, that would be a great hobby. So that leads right into the next phase, the culminating phase of this activity, which is celebrating the ideas. And like I said, we're not just voting for, you know, the best idea. We really want to promote the idea that it's not about a winner. It's not about any person being the best. It's about the different merits of ideas. So you can now give little emoji stickers to the ideas and think about, you know, which one that you want them to get. Is this something that like sparked a new idea for you? Is it very original, something you never heard of? Or is it just something that made you smile? And these are also customizable. So this was very important to us, that the teacher can customize these based on the topic. So you might have, oh, this one was very scientific, or this one was based on something we learned in class, you know, so different things that you want to recognize in the ideas. So you can see lots of celebrating, recognizing each other's ideas going on. And I can, of course, open up the cards. And we plan to add a little bit more of a wrap up so that you can kind of see, you know, these were maybe some of the most creative ideas, or some of the ones that were most people thought were very original. But right now you can just kind of browse and see, oh, like this one is getting a lot of interest. Let's see here, what else? Dog walking got a lot of smiles. Very nice. Making a scooter out of books, that gave people new ideas. All right, wonderful. And so, like I said, this activity, it's a simple mechanic, it's quick and it's fun, and there are lots of different ways to use it, and it can fit with any different content area. So the idea of this really is to give students a chance to come up with their creative ideas and share those ideas, and really promote the idea that their ideas matter. So lastly, the last thing I wanted to mention is that, as you've noticed, in addition to the exciting launch of this new Kahoot Sparks tool, I've also been talking along the way about our process and the principles that go into designing this. And as a learning designer, that is what's most important to me when we design tools, right? And it's all about the pedagogy. And I know that in the Nordics, that's something that's really valued. We get questions all the time about, okay, where does the learning happen in Kahoot, and how does it fit into, you know, deeper student-centered learning? And that is really where Sparks comes in, especially because of the process we've gone through. We've done a lot of co-design, a lot of talking to teachers along the way, a lot of testing out quick, rapid prototyping of different ideas to see which ones work for the most students. And this inclusive process, these inclusive design methods, we wanted to share with everyone in the EdTech community, so that people can start to adopt these even in small ways. Making your process more inclusive will result in making your product more inclusive. So we are writing a white paper. It's almost done. It should be published hopefully early next year. It's called Designing for Inclusion, Designing for All. So it's both a mindset shift in terms of what I described earlier about how designing for neurodiverse classrooms, designing for anyone who has a hard time accessing learning, it really leads to better learning for everyone. So this mindset shift, and practical approaches. So actual things you can do. How do you do co-design? How do you do empathy interviews in a way that's inclusive? So we really invite all EdTech companies to think about this and think about ways that they can start to make those shifts and add more inclusivity into their process, and have more conversations about it too in places just like this. So just as a reminder, in case you want to check out either of these resources or share them with your communities, we would love that. There's information here, and these are the content collection and the Sparks tool. And I think we're at time, so I will wrap up there. And I will just say, I unfortunately can't stay for the Q&A panel part, but if anybody has questions or wants to reach out about Sparks, you can find me on LinkedIn, or Natalia can connect us. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening and for participating.
Thank you, Lisa. Wish you best of luck with Sparks, and we look forward to the white paper.
Thank you.
It was